Welcome to the Healthy, Wealthy, and Smart podcast. Each week, we interview the best and brightest in physical therapy, wellness, and entrepreneurship. We give you cutting-edge information you need to live your best life, healthy, wealthy, and smart. The information in this podcast is for entertainment purposes only and should not be used as personalized medical advice. And now, here's your host, Dr. Karen Litzy.
Hey everybody, welcome back to the podcast. I'm your host, Karen Litzy. Thank you all for tuning in. And if you are liking what you're listening to, we would love if you could go to iTunes and leave a quick review and tell us why you like us. And if there are any topics or any people you want to hear from us, feel free to reach out to us at podcast.healthywealthysmart.com. On today's episode, co-host Dr. Jenna Kantor is back, and she is interviewing Ruth Backlund. Ruth is the founder and owner of Energy Works Myofascial Release. She helps active men and women enhance their health and well-being, improve mobility, and avoid unnecessary surgery. She uses clinically comprehensive whole-body approach to healing through gentle myofascial stretching to decrease pain and increase range of motion. Her goal is to help her clients achieve physical and emotional health and well-being by facilitating the healing journey, teaching self-care techniques, and enabling sustained, long-lasting relief. In this episode, Ruth and Jenna talk about the difference between emotional and physical trauma, how Ruth reacts to emotional patients to facilitate the healing process, and the importance of being present with patients who may be dealing with emotional trauma. So a big thank you to Ruth and Jenna for coming on the podcast this week, and everyone, please enjoy.
Hello, this is Jenna Kantor. I am so happy to be interviewing Ruth Backlund today on Healthy, Wealthy, and Smart. So first of all, Ruth, thank you so much for coming on the podcast.
Absolutely. I'm excited to be here.
This is a thrill because Ruth is an incredible nurse who owns a business called Energy Works Myofascial Release. And the topic we are discussing today is about emotional trauma versus physical trauma. I saw that you did a Facebook Live video on this, and it made me go, oh my gosh, I really want to go into more depth on this. So this is very exciting to me because I personally get to hear more on this topic. All right, so let's just start from the basics. What is the difference between emotional and physical trauma?
So trauma is trauma.
Yes.
Okay. Some of it's emotional, some of it's physical, and the difference is what you can physically see on the outside. Like physical trauma, people can relate to. It's more acceptable in society where you get hurt, you're limping, you're missing a limb, you have scars, whatever. That's physical trauma. People can relate to that.
Yes.
You're in a car accident. People can relate to that.
Yes, yes.
Emotional trauma is usually less visible. Okay, so if you were in an abusive relationship, people usually hide that. So you don't see that, but it's there in your tissues. If you were, let's just say that you were, abused as a child, maybe you were raped, maybe, something like that. Or maybe you just had the perception that you were never wanted as a child, not necessarily what was reality. Sometimes it is reality. But it's emotional trauma that people will have, symptoms because they have anxiety, they're depressed, feeling like they're an outcast all the time. So those are things that tie into emotional trauma. But you really can't separate them.
Yeah.
Because everybody walks in, everybody has emotional trauma, everybody has physical trauma. It's just at what point in their life did it occur and how much is it affecting them? We can all be traumatized, but it doesn't necessarily mean it has to stop you from living a full life. So physical trauma, more socially acceptable, outwardly talked about. Emotional trauma, not so much. It's usually behind the curtain.
Thank you. So why is it important for physical therapists specifically to differentiate this with their patients?
I'm going to say it's actually not important.
Oh, I love this. So why not?
Because everybody comes in with their baggage.
Yeah.
We all come in with a life of stuff. Now, some people definitely have more tangible emotional trauma. If they've grew up in an abusive home or in an abusive relationship or had some crime committed to them, there's something there that's pretty dramatic.
Oh, yeah.
Okay, so there's a different scale to that. But everybody comes in with something, right? Maybe they were bullied as a kid. That's emotional trauma.
Yeah.
But how they can grow out of that and how it changes them as an adult is very different.
Mm-hmm.
But we all come in with that package. So as a physical therapist, do you need to know that? Not necessarily. But I would say if you're having trouble with progression with something, or maybe somebody's afraid to do something or really anxious, it's just being patient. There might be something behind the scenes that you don't know, but you know what? The patient might not either.
Yeah.
Because sometimes with emotional trauma, they blank it out.
Yeah.
They don't even know, or they've repressed all of that they don't even know. So do you need to know?
No.
Maybe not necessarily.
Yeah. That's a really good point. So would you mind telling a story of when you encountered a patient that clearly had some sort of emotional
Sure.
trauma going on, and what did you do in that situation?
So I'm trying to think of what the best example is, because again, everybody who walks into my treatment room, they've got emotional trauma. They've got physical trauma, and what's affecting them the most. And I would say it's hard to separate them.
Right.
Some it might be more than others. But let's just give you an example.
Okay.
So let's say that I'm driving down the road,
mm-hmm.
and so I'm the patient. I'll
Okay.
just be the patient here.
Okay. I'm the nurse. Yes.
Yeah,
okay.
you're the nurse.
I gotta be the nurse.
Yeah. So I'm driving down the road, and I'm talking to somebody in the passenger seat. Maybe we're just having a good time. Maybe it's an argument, whatever. I'm distracted. Another car comes along. I don't see it. Bam, we get in an accident. Okay. So what happens is all the physical stuff we worry about, right? That, maybe I broke my legs, maybe I have a head injury, chest injury, whatever. Maybe the person in the car was killed, and I'm the driver. So all of that comes in. So all that physical trauma is there. Okay. That's all tied to the car accident if I survived. But the emotional trauma tied to that is, okay, now I'm guilty. I wasn't paying attention. I was distracted. I just caused the injury or death of the person who was sitting in the front seat with me, and maybe the other people in the other car. And oh my God, am I going to die? Oh my gosh, if I'm a teenager, my parents are going to kill me. There's so much that goes into that. So it's really hard to separate it.
Yeah.
So with what I do with the myofascial release is just treating the person where they're at, and allowing them to feel the feelings. That if they need to cry, if they're angry, if they're scared, just to hold that space for them and allow them to process it physically while I'm working on them,
right,
and emotionally as they're feeling it and reliving it.
What rookie mistakes did you make when you first worked with a patient with a clear emotional trauma that was tied with a physical trauma?
I would say probably the rookie mistake from an emotional standpoint was rushing in with the Kleenex when somebody was crying. Now that seems like a natural thing.
Yeah.
Who would think that would ever be a problem, right?
Yeah.
I would say rushing in abrupts that processing of that emotion.
Oh.
So it interrupts the experience that they're going through, that you want them to fully feel, let the tears flow, let the body shake, let that trapped emotion get out so it doesn't get stuck inside them. So I'll stand there, I'll stay in the same space, but I don't rush until they're done, and then I go get the Kleenex box and I hand it to them.
I like that. I never thought about it, but it's almost like the Kleenex is a curtain saying, oh, this is to help you turn that off.
Yeah, stop crying. Here you go. Here's a Kleenex. And it shuts them down.
Wow.
You totally need to let them process their emotion.
Oh my gosh.
But we're uncomfortable with it.
Yeah. Because, we're thinking, we're trained. I feel like we're just trained to just go, it's just an instinct. You're like, oh, their nose, they're going to get it on there. Let's help. It's a sign of comfort.
Mm-hmm.
Wow.
Yeah.
But it prematurely ends part of their healing.
Yes.
Wow. That's great. Anything else? I'm just wondering if there are any more gems from you, because that was really good.
Let's let's see, what other rookie mistake? Yeah, I don't want to admit all my mistakes on air. Okay,
You just went in knowing everything.
I'm trying to think. I mean, that for sure is a biggie. I think probably if you know somebody has some emotional trauma, again, everybody comes in with something, is don't judge them in advance.
Right. You got to take the whole picture.
You have to take the whole picture. You have not walked in their shoes. You might be able to relate.
Mm-hmm.
So let's say I was in an abusive relationship, but I can't relate to somebody else who was in an abusive relationship that was different. I mean, I can be empathetic to say, I understand how some of it feels, but mine might be very small, or my perception was it was very small and I survived and got out, no big deal. Somebody else may have had 30 years of living through hell.
Yeah.
Okay. Very different. I can empathize and just let them process and listen to what they're having to say versus, yeah, totally get it. Yeah. Yeah. No. Slow it down, let them speak, listen, and let them process.
Thank you. That's great. For any new physical therapists, what advice would you give before working with a patient with an emotional trauma that may be tied in with their physical trauma?
Okay. Well, I think part of it is, as a new PT, you're probably not coming in with a whole world of experience, right? Mm-hmm. So you can't necessarily, or maybe you can, necessarily relate to some long-term, lifelong trauma that somebody coming in with an issue with their hip or with an issue with their neck, where they need physical therapy. You might not recognize that there's a whole lot of luggage they're bringing on with them as they're coming for treatment. Okay. Mm-hmm. So you're thinking you're working on something very specific, but that might be tied to something that happened many, many, many years ago. And so just recognizing that a person comes in as a whole package, and be patient. If things aren't going, if they aren't progressing as quickly as you would like or as much as you think it should, don't lose patience with that. Realize that we all walk in with something different. We all recover and learn things at a different pace. And it's not always just the physical trauma, that there could be more there, and that's okay. Just be patient with them and listen.
That's perfect. Thank you. Thank you so much. I love that insight, because for students or new grads, it is good to know and be aware of where you may be a little less experienced when working with just human beings. And so it could just kind of put your sensitive hat on for just a possible bigger picture that may not be there, but just in case.
Just be open.
Yeah. Thank you so much, Ruth. It has been a pleasure to interview and learn from you. So thank you.
Thank you for listening, and please subscribe to the podcast at podcast.healthywealthysmart.com. And don't forget to follow us on social media.